Hey, and welcome back. My name is Ryan, and I am a software developer for the last 20 years, and I have coded a lot for small businesses and startups. But today I'm going to show you how to do great things for your business using no code. So let's dive into it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like to use one of these solutions. I prefer make.com. This is a no code platform. So, what is a no code platform? No code platform means you can connect all these different apps together. So this screenshot, I think, and this little animated image shows you that you can fill out a form. You can do multiple things based off of that. So you can notify your team, maybe in Slack. You can throw that into a database, and then you can send an email all off of this one trigger. And so there's a lot of powerful things you can do this without writing one line of code. So if that's something you're interested in, let's jump into it. So here I have an example of a form. So let's pretend that we're a landscaping company and we have our team that is out in the field and they are going around to our customers, and we don't really have a great invoicing system right now. So we're just going to use Google Forms. It's cheap, it's free. And our team is going to enter in the customer's name, and then they're going to say what day they performed that service and then what services they performed. And then this is, if you've never used Google Forms before, this shows up all in a spreadsheet. So they're going to show up in this spreadsheet here with those same questions represented as columns. So how are we going to do this in Make? So go ahead and create a make.com account if you haven't already. You can use my description in the link below. That will give you one free month to when you're ready to upgrade to the professional plan. So right when you open up a new scenario, that's what make.com calls these. A new scenario is where you click on this big plus button in the middle, and then that gives you a huge list of all the apps that make.com currently integrates with. So these are all alphabetized, and it is crazy. If you can imagine it, there's probably a make.com app for it. So we need to think about what exactly we're going to do. So again, we want to be able to have a Google form be answered. Then that's going to go into a spreadsheet. And then what we want to do off of that is we want to create an invoice. And let's say our invoicing system is QuickBooks. So let's go ahead and start with a Google Sheet. I recommend starting with a Google Sheet. The Google Forms, there's a Google Forms one as well. Let's take a look at that. Plus Google Forms. You can click on Google Forms and you can search for forms. You can watch responses. I've tried these in the past with bad results. So instead, I would like to use Google Sheets, and I recommend you do the same. So with Google Sheets, we're going to watch for new rows. So let's go ahead and, well, we could watch for new rows. That might be something when you turn this on to run indefinitely. We want to use that. But I'm going to be just demonstrating this today. So we're going to search for new rows. So once new rows get added to the spreadsheet, we're going to search for that. We don't need anything too advanced. And then you're going to want to authenticate with your Google Sheets. So I have my Google Sheets connected already, but you'll want to go ahead and do that, and that'll just OAuth. It'll ask for your username and password to your Google account. And then it's going to ask for the spreadsheet ID. So if we go over to the spreadsheet, we can see that right after the D forward slash is the ID. You can do this, or you can also search for it. But like I did there, and that can work just as well. And what it's doing right now is it's finding all the fields that we want to map. And the sheet name, there's only one in there. It's form responses. It does contain headers. And we'll just kind of keep that same column range. And we can click OK. So now let's go ahead and just run this and see what happens. So everything looks good. Nice little check mark there. And then we can see that we are getting results back. But total number of bundles is 0. And we have 0 in here, so that makes sense. So let's go ahead and just fill out Well, let's go ahead and do that. So let's see. Let's send this to ourselves. So let's go ahead and copy that, and we're going to go ahead and enter in. And so what I recommend is in our QuickBooks system, the customer name needs to map correctly in this example. So we're going to head and just go ahead and say that we're going to be mowing the local Exxon gas station down the street, and we'll do that today. And we said we were going to mow it. So again, this is just your teammates that are filling this out. We'll click submit, and then we can see that sure enough, in our spreadsheet, our team's response is in that form. So if we go back to make, we can click run. And this time we can see that we get a result. So we can see that the customer name is Exxon, the date of service is today the 11th, and services performed is mowing. And so this is really helpful. And we can do this for, you could imagine there could be, maybe your team is doing multiple yards and properties every day. And so we might have lots of these. So what we want to do is be able to iterate through all of these responses one by one, and then create an invoice for each one. So let's go ahead and add another module. So I just clicked on the plus button, and then it tells me to click another one. And so, like I said, we want to iterate through all these responses. And so down here in the tools, you have some things that help kind of control the flow of your scenario. And I mentioned that we want to iterate through them. And so we're going to start from one input, and then we're going to create many outputs. So we're going to search for this once, and then it's going to create lots of different potential results. And so then if we try to figure out all the different fields that might be able to be in here, we want just the customer name. The customer name is going to be what we're going to be searching when we connect with our QuickBooks. So let's go ahead and click on customer's name. And it says Exxon right now, but it could change as we have more entries. So let's go ahead and click on that. And then you can see that that adds that into the array. And then you'll see this turn yellow here. If you click on that, it says a transformer should not be the last module in the route. And what this is doing, all it's saying is that you want to be able to do something helpful with this information. And if you just put it into a transformer, what they're calling it, it's not going to do anything for you. So we actually want to put that into QuickBooks. And while we're kind of showing you the transformer and other things you can do, one thing that's also going to be helpful is I want to be able to input into my QuickBooks different variables, but we'll kind of get back to that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and do now QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is one of the most popular accounting softwares out there. And even if you don't use it, you can imagine that we'd want to search for customers from this Google form. And so I've gone ahead and connected my QuickBooks. And so you would want to do the same. And we're going to be searching by the field that comes in. It's going to be the, I think we want the fully qualified name, or maybe the customer name. Yeah, company name. Sorry, I missed it earlier. And click on the next drop down, and that should contain, because we want to make it a little bit of a fuzzy match in case our team doesn't enter it in exactly. It might be lowercase or uppercase when it gets auto-corrected. And so that's going to be equal to the customer name. And you could change the limit here to be a lot higher if you want to, but for demonstration purposes, that'll work for us. So let's go ahead and run this again. And then you saw it kind of think a little bit longer for QuickBooks, but looks like everything was green check mark. And we saw that we did get a match because we got a lot more information. We got the fully qualified name, the company name, the display name. If you have trouble with this, make sure that your QuickBooks has that exact name when go ahead and search for it. So now that we have our customer, let's go ahead and create an invoice based off of this. So again, in QuickBooks, we can go ahead and search for invoice, and we're going to create an invoice. I'm not going to go ahead and send the invoice because we can imagine that maybe we want to review all these invoices before we send them out. And so we can see we have lots of customers already in our QuickBooks, but we want to map it to what um, our search results showed up in the previous step in our scenario. So we can just map that to our customer ID. And so that could create the invoice, but we also have with us the product that or service that we were doing. So let's go ahead and map that as well. So we're going to create a line item, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my QuickBooks as well. And look at my invoices. So if I were to just manually create a new invoice, you can see that I add a customer, I have an invoice number. I can do kind of a few things. We have the service date, we have the product or service that we're doing. So we're kind of want to map that to mowing. We can have the description, quantity, and the amount. And so let's go ahead and see how that might map to our invoice here. So we could say that our customer ID is there, our line item type, we just keep that as service because that's what we're doing. And the amount is going to be, we can kind of manually do this for now if we wanted to. We could do a more in-depth thing where we mapped each. Actually, we don't even need the amount because our amount is in, I think it's in here for our product. I forget what I ended up doing. Let's go ahead and put like $50 for mowing. The description, let's see where this goes here. Description goes here. Quantity, 1. We could take off the amount and do just the unit price. No, it needs it to be there. Okay. So amount is 50. The item, let's see here. We're probably going to map that to the item ID because we're not going to manually choose mowing. So let's map that to mowing, right? Or is the item ID? I don't know why I mapped item ID. So that should be, I think, mowing there. And the service date is going to be what we got from date of service. And then tax code, I'm not going to worry about that. Class. So that should add a new line item for the mowing. And we could loop through, we could make this more robust if we wanted to loop through all of them. If we did mowing and mulching and multiple things like that, you could loop through each one, do another iterator. And that's something maybe we can do in a future video. If you guys have questions, leave a comment and I can fill that out. So let's go ahead and see how this works out. So we get an error here saying that invalid number for mowing. So let's take a look at that. Invalid number for mowing. We need to search for the item that we found. So I think we need to find the product. So let's do that. Let's unlink this. Let's add another QuickBook module and let's look for, does it call it product? I think QuickBook calls it item. So let's search for items. And let's search by the name of the product, and that's going to be more or less the same as what we said in the services performed. So let's keep these unconnected and let's see if that works. All right, that looks successful. So now we have an item ID that I think will be helpful for us. And so if I move this back over, let's connect that because this is going to be part of our invoices. We need to say what to bill for. So the item isn't the Google Sheet. The item is actually the item ID. And then the unit price will be the item's unit price. And the amount, do we have a expense account, taxable, unit price, type, active, name, unit price, and multiply that times the quantity. Let's just do unit price and see what happens there. As you can see, it's a little bit of playing with it each time to figure it out and kind of test it. So this looks like it actually created the invoice. So let's go ahead and X out of this dummy one that we were exploring. And then we can see that we had a successful invoice. So let's go ahead and look at this. So the amount is $0. So that's not ideal. So we'll get that. Ignore that. So we got mowing to come up here, which is great. Description goes here. Looks like I had a misspelling. You should have told me that earlier. But let's go ahead and figure out this amount. I think if we searched for different items in QuickBooks, product and services, mowing, let's edit mowing. I wonder if we add a price here, sales price. So let's say it costs us $75 to do mowing. That way, it'll automatically fill it in for us. So when we go ahead and create the invoice, that should be the unit price. If we need to do more than one, we can do that. But let's go ahead and go back to our invoices. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. And let's run this again. Hopefully it should be successful again. Yep, green check mark. We click refresh in our QuickBooks. And then $75. Great. So that is unpaid $75. And everything's looking good. Our customer got matched up. We could edit this invoice. We can see that we do have some extra fields here that we could play around with. That'd be kind of nice. We could change that. The description goes there, so we know how that was calculated. Let's go ahead and delete this. And let's play around with a little bit more inside of our invoice. So I'm going to say show advanced settings. So now we have transaction, tax, detail, department. So these could be different locations that you do. I use these for properties. Doc number. Let's see what this does. Transaction source. Not sure what this does either. Private. Oh. Customer memo. Due date. I think we had something we could play around with. I can show you how. So when you click on a field, you can either select from a previous step in the scenario, or you can kind of look through here and you can see some functions start to arise. So we got some math functions, we got some string manipulation and binary functions. We also have a date picker. So this could be kind of cool. So let's add days. Let's try this. And so if we click on here in the middle or hover over it, we see that we can add days, and then the first parameter is a date. So returns a new date as a result by adding a given number of days to a date. Let's see if we can throw in now as the date, and we're going to add 7 days to it. So today is currently March 11th, and our hope is that March 18th is when this invoice is due. Shipping address, I'm not going to play with that. Billing address, discount, we could change that. We can allow online ACH payment. Sure. Allow online credit card payment. Sure. Apply tax after the discount. We'll leave that alone. All right, let's try this again. So we have no invoices. Ooh, looks like we got an error. Invalid enumeration, transaction source here. I think when I put in transaction source here, it did not like that. So we might have to figure out what that is on another day. Let's get rid of that and rerun this. Cool, looks like it was successful. Let's refresh. Due in 7 days, great. So let's go ahead and edit the invoice, open it up here. So invoice number, that's where the doc number goes. So you can update that. Terms, I didn't see an option for that, but might be able to do something there. Invoice date is the 11th and due date is the 18th. So you can change what day you want that due. You can change, this is probably where the shipping information can go and the billing information. Description goes there, and then over on the left, we can see that our customer memo goes in the note to customer. Internal customer notes is hidden. I didn't see an obvious field for that. Memo on the statement, private note here, and then attachments. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I think that'll work for now. And so I could, as somebody's virtual assistant or an admin in your company, I could just click review and send, and no other information was needed. You can imagine like the cool things you could do with this. So that is an introduction to how with make.com you can create no code solutions. I've done this manually by actually writing code for people where I would create these automations and then charge them thousands of dollars. And instead, now with the power of the internet, you can do this yourselves and have your team be more efficient. So you can imagine like this could be great for you're starting your own business or you're trying to make your company more efficient. I recommend trying out make.com. And there's other tools like Zapier and if this and that, but I think make.com is a little bit more powerful. So if you want more tips and trips like this, we'll do a series of using our landscaping company, and we're gonna improve this, and I'll show you some more cool stuff. So be sure to like and subscribe.